Chag Sameach, everyone. Of all the wonderful music we have at the Passover Seder, one of my favorites is Echad Miyodea, Who Knows One. There is something about the melody, the playfulness of a counting song, the fun of trying to think of different numbers of significance in Judaism, because even if the traditional song only goes up to 13, who says you need to stop there? The silliness of trying to do the last verse all in one breath, which every year I succeed at. Of course, it's appropriate for this time of year because who knows 7? I know 7. 7 is the days of the Omer. This is, after all, the time for counting. Counting each day from Passover to Shavuot, from the Exodus to the receiving of the Torah, from slavery to Sinai. But this year, instead of singing a playful song about counting, I have a very different kind of counting on my mind. Because who knows 206? I know 206. 206 is the number of days since Hamas massacred our people. 206 is the number of days that approximately 130 people continue to be held captive in Gaza. The number of days that parents, spouses, siblings, children, friends, too many to count, have waited with worry and anticipation, hoping that each day that goes by will be the last one before their loved ones return. Who knows 6 million? Who knows 1.5 million? I know. 6 million are the Jewish souls whose lives were brutally taken from them by Nazis, 1.5 million of whom were children. 6 million whom we will commemorate this coming weekend as we observe Yom HaShoah. Although, as I was taught last year on the March of the Living, it is not 6 million lives that we remember. It is one life, one individual, one story, one future cut short, and another, and another, and another, 6 million times over. Do I know 6 million? I don't know if I can truly know 6 million. Who knows 7, 30, 11? Many of us in this room know 7, 30, and 11. We know the days of Shiva, of Shloshim, those 11 months of Kaddish. We know the experience of counting the passage of time as we grieve loved ones, as we slowly emerge from the deepest depths of fresh grief, journeying into a new life, of living with what author Nora McInerney calls chronic grief, a grief that we learn to live with, but which never goes away. We know what it's like to count the first yahrzeit, the second yahrzeit, maybe the 10th, the 20th, to mark each year with 1, 2, 3, 4 recitations of Yizkor. Yes, this is the time for counting. Counting lives lost, counting days where lives hang in the balance, counting the passage of time without certain loved ones present in our lives, and of course, counting the Omer. These are certainly not the only things we count. In fact, much of our culture is fixated on counting. Visit any wedding website and you're likely to be greeted with a countdown to the big day. Google retirement clock and you'll find dozens of results for clocks that will count down the days, hours, minutes, even seconds till that last day of work. And of course, go to any time zone around the world at 11:59 and 50 seconds on December 31st, and you can join a chorus of people counting down to the new year. But unlike all this counting from our secular lives, The counting in our Jewish lives is a counting up, not a counting down. Of course, some of that is because of the circumstances. We can count down to a known destination, wedding, retirement date, a new year, but who knows how many days will go by until the hostages are returned home. None of us know. And so we cannot count down, we can only count up, hoping that each day we count will be the last. And some of that is because of what we are counting. When we count down, it is usually because the destination is more important than the process of getting there, or at least that's what we like to convince ourselves of. But how could we diminish any one of the 6 million lives that were lost in the Holocaust? By counting up, by remembering each one and then another and another, we elevate each of their lives, each of their memories in a way that counting down would never do. But what about the Omer? We know the destination. The Torah tells us, you shall count 7 complete weeks, and on the 50th day you shall observe a festival. And one could easily argue that that destination of receiving the Torah is much more important than the process of wandering in the desert to get there. Why then do we count up instead of down? Perhaps it is because our act of counting the Omer is not meant to help us remember our ancestors' journey from slavery to Sinai, but instead is meant to help us relive it. We who have the wisdom of hundreds of generations who came before us know that the journey will take 49 days. We know that leaving everything familiar and traveling through the desert was all for the sake of the revelation at Sinai. But did our ancestors who left Egypt know that? Did they know how long the journey would be, or where they were going, or if it would be worth it? My colleague, Rabbi Avigail Halpern, shared with me a beautiful teaching from Atara Lindenbaum, who wrote, "The children of Israel did not know when they would receive the Torah. They did not know how long their journey in the desert would continue, and therefore could not possibly count towards anything, since that day was unknown and perhaps unimaginable. When we count up, we can imagine how our ancestors felt in the desert as each day passed, as they had no idea what tomorrow would bring, as they journeyed into the unknown. Perhaps then we count up as we count the Omer, so that we can relive the experience of our ancestors, not knowing how long the journey would be or where it would take us, only knowing that we could count each day as it went by. Or perhaps we count up because the journey itself is just as important as the destination. The Kli Yakar, a 16th century rabbi from Prague, suggests that receiving the Torah is not a singular event which one can count down to, but rather an ongoing experience of new discovery. Each and every day, he says, the Torah should be new for us. Each and every day, we should receive something new, a new insight, a new flavor, a new perspective. So maybe we count up from the second night of Passover instead of counting down, because we are journeying into the unknown and are not sure of our destination. Or maybe we are counting up because each day brings with it something new. I think grief is like that. I think life right now is like that. I don't need to tell you that the world is a very dark place right now. Each day brings more uncertainties and unknown territory, and yet each day also brings with it new things. new friends or allies we didn't realize we had, new gratitude for blessings we might have previously taken for granted, new awareness of strength and ability to overcome challenges we never thought we'd have to face, new ways of understanding the world. And for those of us who are about to recite Yizkor, we know what it's like to journey into the unknown, to journey into life without a person that you always thought would be there with you. But I hope, perhaps, we also know what it's like to find in each day something new, a memory you hadn't thought of in a while, a skill you inherited from a loved one that you didn't realize you had, a new way of weaving the blessings of our loved ones' memories into the world. And so we count. We count up because we don't know what the destination is. We count up because we are journeying into the unknown. But we also count up because each day in and of itself holds value. Each day is worthy of being counted because of the new revelations each day may bring. So, as the psalm says, let us learn to count our days so that we may attain hearts of wisdom. And just as the counting of our ancestors brought them from slavery to Sinai, may our counting bring us to places of wholeness and holiness. Chag Sameach.